Oh my God, you're going to love it. Hi, welcome to the AI Chicks, where we're providing you cool conversations about AI for all, with each episode covering a different topic on how AI is impacting our and your daily lives. I'm your host, Aisha Wynn, always bringing that hot, new, fun perspective on tech. And I got my co-host here.
Hi, guys. I'm Lana Hout, and I'm bringing the curls, the charisma, and that entrepreneurial energy.
And so today we are getting into AI and cybersecurity.
We're going to be hearing from cybersecurity expert Caitlin Sarian, also known as CyberSecurity Girl.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Visit USAA.com/bundle.
Bundle savings are off total premium, not available in all states or in all situations. To qualify, auto policy must be active prior to property policy issue, subject to change. Restrictions apply. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
Let's welcome Caitlin Sarian, cybersecurity girl, to the pod.
Hey, everyone. So great to be here.
It's so nice to have you here, Caitlin. I thought maybe you would start out by telling everyone a little bit about your background and how you became the cybersecurity girl.
My background's a little unconventional. I went to school for aerospace engineering and also did not want to do that either, but I loved math and science, and my parents kind of like put that idea in my head and I ignored it, and I went to school for education, and then I decided like a couple months into the year that I was actually going to change majors to engineering. And then cybersecurity kind of happened in the similar way, where someone told me, hey, would you be interested in cyber? My immediate gut reaction was, no, I'm not a coder. I'm not a man, and I don't belong in a basement. Kept going. I was in cyber for like 8 or 9 years. COVID hit. I always knew that I had a bigger purpose in my life, and I never knew what that was. And to be fair, I'm always still chasing like what's God's plan for me. So I always know that there's going to be some crazy turn of events, but cybersecurity girl happened because I was like, you know what? Everyone has this misunderstanding of cyber. Like, again, similar to my immediate gut reaction when I was asked originally, like I was like, people don't understand what it is. So like maybe I create a channel to inspire the next generation of cybersecurity professionals, specifically women, to get into the field. And they were like 2 or 3-ish main pillars. One was to get more women into STEM fields, because I was in aerospace too, and there was 5% of us. And then to also get more women into cybersecurity. And then the other was to just like demystify what cybersecurity was as a career. Because I'd like go on dates and people are like, are you going to hack into my phone? And I'm like, no, I don't even know how to do that. Like, what are you talking about? And so I get really frustrated because no one knew what cyber was, and they would think that it was, you know, some crazy Hollywood movie scene, and it was far from. So, and then I also really wanted to just educate the general public. And that's kind of how Cybersecurity Girl was made in a nutshell.
It seems like our missions are very aligned here at the AI Chicks. We felt like AI was something that was super interesting to us individually, but that we felt like a lot of people didn't know about, and we wanted to educate. So I think that our missions are definitely aligned there.
Yes, we're definitely kindred spirits, because obviously neither of us thought that we were going to be turning out to be like AI experts at this point, but it's evolved into that, and very similar for you, where we just saw there was a gap in the communication of people understanding what AI was, and also how it applied into all different facets of life. And so we took a very similar path.
You did touch something on your intro, people thinking that you just know about hackers and that hackers the only thing. That's one part of cybersecurity, but that's not the only part of cybersecurity. So I wanted you to touch on that a bit.
Yeah. So there's good hacking and bad hacking, right? Similar to good AI and bad AI, but everyone always assumes, because Hollywood makes it seem like it's like some scary thing where, again, it's like a hacker in a hoodie, like a black hoodie in a basement, just like breaking into things. And to be fair, there's ethical hackers, and then there's like, you know, the bad hackers, black hat hackers. And ethical hackers literally get paid to hack into systems to help companies understand where their weakness and where their vulnerabilities are, so the bad hackers actually can't get in. So there's really good things about like hacking, but when I did aerospace engineering, I had to take a couple classes of coding. Terrible at it. Legitimately barely passed. And so when I was asked in cyber, like, hey, would you be interested? In my head, I'm like, do I tell her that I'm like really bad at coding and I hate it? Like, but of course, when you're interviewing, you're like, yeah, sure. Like, yeah, you say whatever
great
you
coder.
need to get the job.
Excellent. I
Yeah,
can do all the codes.
Really interesting. So I was like, I'm just going to say yes. And if I get this opportunity, then, and I'm interested, then I'll go over to that company. And what I found was I was really intrigued with cyber because this was like 12 or 13 years ago. So I knew it was like up and coming. And she was like, you're going to learn everything on the job. I'm like, great, cool. If I don't like it, I'll just leave and go to a different company. And what I found is I literally learned no coding on the job because my cybersecurity was like large scale cyber transformation projects, which basically means that I assess companies from the 20 key cybersecurity domains. And within those cybersecurity domains are a lot of non-technical domains, right? There's access management, which is a huge, whenever people are like, what should I get into? Like, what's like the new frontier for cyber? And I'm like, AI, access management, and data protection and privacy. If you think about every type of account that you've ever made, a lot of times you make multiple accounts on the same website. And so it's these websites' responsibility to understand who you are and make sure that all the data they have is tied to you. Mm-hmm. So it's really, really hard to manage access. But there's literally, data protection and privacy. You basically understand what key data is in a company's landscape, and then you figure out how to protect that. So who has access to it? How often are these people accessing it? Why are they accessing it? If these people leave, how is their access removed? All of that stuff. None of that is, technical coding in a basement. There's governance, risk, and compliance. Now there's so many different cybersecurity laws and regulations. We need the type A people that love their spreadsheets and can kind of check the box and be like, hey, you're not compliant with this one regulation. Lawyers, there's privacy laws. We need literally every single type of person. And so that was really why I was like, okay, people think I'm some freaky coding genius, and I'm far from any of that. So let's try to get more people into cyber from a non-technical role.
I think we wanted to kind of switch gears a little bit and do something we've never done so far yet here at the AI Chicks, which is our lightning round. So I'm going to pose 5 questions to you, Caitlin, and I just want your first, answer. Yes, no, 1-word answers.
Maybe so.
Okay. So first question. Do you think most people are giving away personal data without realizing it?
Immediately, yes.
Do you think AI will eventually make traditional passwords obsolete?
I don't know if AI will, but I think we've already been talking about ways to go passwordless. So yeah.
Okay.
Well, I want to get more into that.
I want to get more into that too. Have you ever clicked on a link and immediately regretted it?
Yes. One time.
Oh, CyberSecurity Girl.
This was before the CyberSecurity Girl thing.
Do you believe your phone is always listening to you?
I believe that most people's phones are always listening because they don't have the right settings turned on.
Okay. So hopefully you're going to give us exactly. And then, should kids be taught about cybersecurity the same way we teach stranger danger?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And that was just a quick little lightning round.
I love the lightning round. But on that note, let's liaison into that. Stop, drop, and roll. There's all of these things that we're taught for everyday emergencies. What should kids be taught? What would be the tech and cyber version of that?
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
There's so many issues with online safety and security. But that also discourages kids from being curious and excited about the technology versus being scared and not wanting to touch it. And so I think there's a good balance that needs to be had of here's how it works, but here are some things that you should watch out for too. I just actually spoke at a youth NATO summit in Montenegro, and I was like, how do we make kids excited about AI and cyber? Because if we keep making it a scary thing like Hollywood, portrays, then no one's really going to want to touch it, or they're going to want to touch it for the wrong reasons, to be completely honest. I just feel because it's been looked at in such a scary lens, and it's because it's scary, it seems untouchable. It seems like people don't really even want to try to learn it because they don't think that they're smart enough to, when really it's especially with cybersecurity, it's basic tips. It doesn't have to be scary if you know basic tips. And I think there's a study that showed if you do these 3 things, 98% of the things will not happen to you. And I feel it's the same thing with AI too. It seems scary, but once you get the hang of it, it's really cool. And it's really interesting to see all the things that you can do. And if we're able to teach kids at a young age with that curious mindset, I think we're going to be way ahead of the curve when it comes to like innovating new things.
That's actually why I ended up accidentally being a hacker in my teens, is because I was curious. Where's the coding of this website or this application? And so I was discovering the back walls and the source codes and all of that, but it really was by accident. Then I learned, oh, I'm technically hacking, but it was my curiosity that really led to that, and wanting to really understand, oh yeah, how is this built? How can I build one? Things of that nature. So I do agree with you that there is a fine line of making sure that we have the next generation protected and mindful, but then also not scare them so much away from it that they don't want to learn more about it and evolve, from a skill set standpoint. Speaking of learning more about tech, we should probably hear what AI has to say about cybersecurity.
So we asked Copilot about AI and cybersecurity.
So let's hear what Copilot has to say.
According to Copilot, AI enhances cybersecurity by detecting threats and automating defenses, protecting consumers' data. While companies use AI to prevent cyber attacks, criminals also exploit it for scams like deepfake phishing and AI-generated malware. As governments introduce regulations to address risks, businesses must balance AI innovation with strong security protections. Ultimately, AI strengthens cybersecurity but also demands constant adaptation to new challenges.
So this definition is like pretty great. I always say like AI is a force for good, but it's also going to be used as a force for bad, which means that you really need to use it as a force for good, right? There's going to be bad actors and criminals out there, and the only way to combat them is to use, beat them at their own game, is what I like to say. AI has been around for a really long time. A lot of cybersecurity companies have already been using AI. And in the past, 3 years, they've just slapped AI onto every marketing platform possible and be like, look, we use AI. And it's like, you already used AI. And so, cybersecurity companies, the ones that did really well in the last 5-10 years, were the ones that are already using some type of AI in order to, scan and assess vulnerabilities or, assess the landscape in certain ways. The only thing I'd probably say is it does make it sound like everything's AI, and it also depends on like what type of AI they're using, right? And I'm sure you've gotten into this with your followers, but there's so many types of AI that's already happening. Now the new AI thing is AI agents. So like, how are they going to be using agents specifically? Like, we're going to cater agents to specific companies, blah, blah. So there's like the agentic AI, which is going to be something really interesting to see. But yeah, I feel like you can't have, cybersecurity without considering AI at this point. And that's been around for like the last 3 years. Yeah, this response makes sense to me.
I like that it also touched on the government, the federal and the state element of it, because protective laws is going to be a huge part of cybersecurity. And as that evolves, the U.S. just passed that Take Down Act. We touched a little bit on that in our digital identity episode. And there's also in the UK, they have like a cyber and resilience bill. So it's great that the federal and the state level are taking on these protective laws. But in general, it is going to be an evolution. There's all of these cybersecurity factors happening, and they're like, well, what about my privacy? What about ethical? What about bias? All these things. It's like, yeah, it's going to take some time for certain systems and committees and federal and state things to get in place the full protection that everyone will feel comfortable with, especially when it comes to privacy. But it is happening. So I just like to, echo some of that AI touched on a very high level about. But the one thing that I was actually surprised that it didn't touch more on is how it's really turning into what I think is a tech versus tech. You mentioned AI agent. We're going to have these good actors and these bad actors. And really, does it turn into AI bot versus another AI bot?
For me, cybersecurity and AI, I find them to be similar in the sense that they've both been around for a long time, but because technology is moving as fast as it is, it's becoming more consumer facing and there's more things happening. Caitlin, you touched on hackers and people being scared. And I think that people are scared of both AI and they're scared of cybersecurity. Are they scared because they don't understand it? Probably. They're probably scared because they feel like there's a lot of tech involved. Do you need to understand technology in a very deep way? Do you need to be an engineer? It's all of these things that feel unaccessible on its face.
Right.
And then there's the fact that so many things are happening and being reported in the news. people's information was taken. Oh, they lost money. Oh, some hacker went in and took everyone's data. And it's all of this kind of fear mongering, but that's not the only place for it. It can be used to proactively protect people's data. In my company, my employees or my staff have received messages saying, hey, this is Lana Hout. No, it's not. And they know it's not. But that's how sophisticated it's becoming. And I think on the AI agent side, is that going to be a situation where is your AI agent going to be more susceptible to hacking? Because if someone kind of got into your AI agent system like a bad actor, what could they do? And how long would it take for you to even realize that a bad actor has now infiltrated your AI agent?
At the end of the day, cybersecurity is all about protecting people's data. And AI is literally just ingesting data and spitting out answers. And so it's like, again, the other issue that I have, I don't know why more people don't talk about, is what happens if the data that you're putting into the AI agent is tampered with or skewed and messed up. And it's the same reason why I tell people, like, be wary of what you put into, ChatGPT, because it's not personal and it's going to start using and learning from you. And obviously AI doesn't remember every single thing you do, but if you're constantly plugging in personal information, like, where does that go? And so there's a whole thing around like data protection.
Do you think that because the type of inputs we have the capabilities of doing now, it's not just text, but it's speech, there's video,
Pictures,
doc files, everything. Is that just making the possibility of that data being leaked even more sensitive?
Yeah. There's now so many AI softwares too. It's not just like the main ones that, like, you don't even know where it's going, where it's being held, like how often are they storing it. There was some article that explains how ChatGPT remembers like 30% or something of what you're putting in it. I don't know like how that works. If I paid for a profile, is it really just going to get saved on mine, or is it really just going to be saved in general to the ChatGPT database? So it's still kind of unclear of where my data and like the stuff that I'm inputting into the AI is sitting and staying, and who technically has access to it. If it's getting trained on the stuff that I'm telling it and it knows who I am, then anyone that technically could ask like, hey, what is, Caitlin's biggest fear? Or like, I ask it psychology questions sometimes because I'm intrigued. So like, what happens if like when other people are starting to ask about like my personal stuff?
I'm sure everyone just wants to know how they can protect themselves, right? We got the cybersecurity girl here. What do you think are 3 simple things that people can do to better protect themselves online?
Yeah.
You know that feeling when someone shows up for you just when you need it most? That's what Uber is all about. Not just a ride or dinner at your door. It's how Uber helps you show up for the moments that matter. Because showing up can turn a tough day around or make a good one even better. Whatever it is, big or small, Uber is on the way. So you can be on yours. Uber, on our way.
So until passwords go away, it's having strong, unique passwords. And I understand people have I have to create 1 million accounts. Like, how do I remember? Okay. For the accounts that like don't mean that much, like fine, you can reuse the password as long as they don't have like credit card details saved or other details saved. But like, for example, like social media is a big deal for me. Every social media platform has a separate password, and they're very unique, and they're like 18 to 21 characters long. Do passphrases. Like, passwords are super, super important because they always say hackers don't hack in, they just sign in, because there's 2.8 billion passwords are currently on the dark web right now, up for grabs, free for anyone. And so if you've reused any of those passwords with your username, all people have to do is like run a query and have it, scan for all different websites and see how they can get in. And then once they get in, then they can do whatever they want. So for the accounts that are like most important to you, like really, really do not reuse passwords. Don't use the same, like I always say, base passwords. So like some people add like, it's like the same base and then they add like 1, 2, 3. Because hackers also have like a query where they can basically run like 10,000 variations of an old password. So like that doesn't work either. Like you really need unique passphrases for the key accounts. And then the other thing is check out as a guest whenever possible. Like try to limit your digital footprint as much as possible. Basically, anytime you're on a public Wi-Fi, unless you're on a VPN, just know that it's open to the public. And anyone that can get onto the back end of that, which is very easy for hackers to do, can pretty much get anything that you send. Multi-factor authentication, which means that you're signing in twice. And I highly recommend you use an authenticator app. Don't use your phone or your email, because if they've already gotten into that account, then they're probably already into your email and they could potentially SIM swap you, which has been like a big thing in the past. So use an authenticator app when you're using multi-factor because it can't really get into that. Be really just mindful of the apps and the websites you go to, like what access you're giving them to.
And for someone, say, they've discovered they've been hacked or they're curious if they've been hacked, what's the next best thing for them to do?
Most accounts, you can see who's logged in, like especially with Google or anything, you can see what devices are attached to your account. I would kick them out. I would change the password. And then I'd add multi-factor authentication.
But really, if you had that to begin with,
if you have a strong password and multi-factor, just like a password that's not used any other place, it prevents like 98% of attacks.
wow.
And then
that's actually a really high rate, actually.
Yeah, and if you click on a link and then you actively type in your details, that's different. But like phishing also, like people lose a lot of their accounts because they like fall for phishing scams. But again, even if you fell for a phishing scam, right, and you type in your username and password, if you had multi-factor authentication on there, they still wouldn't be able to get in because they don't have that.
Yeah, and I think where the password comes from that we're using everything is because there's so many accounts, there's so many profiles, and it's hard for everyone to remember.
I have a password manager. What do you think about password managers? Is that a good thing to have?
Yeah, I mean, in general, it's great. To have like a cybersecurity answer and make it a little bit more convoluted, which I don't like doing. But like certain password managers, depending on where they're based and who owns them and how they're configured, it makes it a little bit more difficult. I use 1Password. I love 1Password. There's other password managers that are really good. And same with VPNs too. Like in general, if you have a password manager and a VPN, you're already like way ahead of the curve, right? But if you really wanted to get more technical, like certain VPNs are based in certain countries that you probably wouldn't want them to be based in if you're in the US. And then they're also owned by certain, and then the way that they handle it, like technically you're just giving your information to other places that have access to what you're doing. So it just depends.
You had mentioned earlier about kind of going towards a passwordless system. What are your thoughts on that? And how soon do you think that would really get adapted?
To be fair, I thought it was going to be like by this year. There's definitely been talks of passwordless stuff for the last like 3 years. I feel like there's already companies that are out there that are doing it internally for corporate and like maybe even execs, and they're just testing it out. I don't know when it will ever get to like B2C, to be fair. Like I maybe like three or 4 years, because I think there's going to be a lot of kinks that they have to deal with.
Switching gears a little bit, on your social media, you've been talking a little bit more about government surveillance and with your surveillance files. And I thought that was a really interesting topic. Just wanted to get your thoughts on how you came to decide to do a segment on surveillance files and what you can share with our audience about that.
Yeah. So as a cybersecurity professional, I try to not make it scary and make it fun. But at the end of the day, I get a lot of questions about being like, are they tracking me? Like, what's going on? What happens if I do this? And so I just wanted to be as transparent as possible with people. Like, I think, ignorance is bliss to a certain extent. But I mean, we're literally living in such an interconnected world, which is a great thing, but it also comes with certain consequences. And I was also weary of doing like the surveillance files, because again, I feel like it's a little bit more political and I tried to leave the politics out. But this one, I'm like, this doesn't matter what politics is like. It doesn't matter who's in office at this point. Like it's still happening. And so I'm not saying like, certain political views are worse than others. Like I'm just saying like from the last, 5 years, they've been tracking more and more. And to be fair, as a U.S. citizen, if it's for national security, I don't mind them tracking certain people because I want to make sure that we're safe and protected, and the people in the U.S. are safe and protected. And so, again, it's kind of that balance of how can I educate people on letting them know that it's happening. For example, on your phone, you can search for stuff on your text messages. Okay. All they have to do is like have your phone be open and they can search for keywords. Like when I was in data protection, we would do the same thing on people's computers. This was like 10 years ago. So it wasn't an option to do on the phone, but now it's so easy. Like we would scan for keywords. We'd scan for like, I forgot how long our credit card numbers, like 13 characters or something. So like we would be paid to go into companies and scan emails, scan for like 13 character numbers to see if anyone sent like open credit card information in. Just how easy it is for us to like, type in a keyword and find an old photo, or type in a keyword and find an old text message and be like, oh, that's where we were talking about it. they are literally doing the same thing, but they're searching for things that are illegal or shouldn't be done or whatever. So if you are doing some sketchy stuff, just start deleting those things off of your text messages and on your photos. I mean, I think it's self-explanatory, but again, I wanted people to understand that that can be done. And if they are worried about it, like, here are the things that you need to protect. But again, hopefully most people don't have to be worried about anything like that.
And what would you say are some of the other ways that the surveillance is happening? Because obviously people think about it more of like, oh, cameras are watching me, or if my location tracker is on. But just how you were saying, using keywords, what would be some of the other types of ways that the surveillances are tapping into?
I mean, anything that you're doing that's probably wrong, they're going to be tapping into. Like, keywords they're probably looking for. It's text. It's anything on your phone. Text messages, the apps that you download. I think what they do is use AI to kind of have a target demographic, and if you're doing X, Y, and Z, then you're automatically flagged to get like more in-depth searches.
How have you seen AI being used in cybersecurity?
Well, I mean, AI is being used by every type of hacker to try to learn from people's behaviors and then like reroute and reshift. I mean, if you think about like 10 years ago when we had the Nigerian prince email that somehow did so well, which I still don't understand. Now they're doing really upscale phishing emails that like don't seem like they're scammy because the English is great. You know, the photos are great. You can generate photos that look real. I mean, we have deep fake scams. All of that is all AI. I mean, the way to combat it is to start using AI to do the same thing. In cybersecurity, we have this phrase called the honeypot, which is like you lure scammers or hackers into a certain thing and they get trapped. In the UK, they use at the O2 built an AI granny that would waste scammers' time.
Oh, I love that idea.
It's actually really, really cool because they think they're talking to a grandma. And she's like, obviously, you know, really slow, like, oh, where's this number? Like, and then it takes like, they'll literally talking on the phone with her for like 2 hours. They're just in this endless loop with this grandma that doesn't know what the heck she's doing, but it's all AI. It's not even real.
That's genius.
I love that. I wish they would respond to all of the like phishing emails and phishing texts with a grandma texter and emailer. That would be awesome. This has been such a great conversation. Thanks for dropping all the tea too, because you've given us some really good tea on this episode. Sure. But I think just giving people and giving our audience a little taste into cybersecurity and not to be so afraid, but then also giving them the proactive tips that they can do to protect themselves.
And also, if you want to do some deep learning on specifically cybersecurity, encouraging them to check out Caitlin's cybersecurity platforms, channels, social media, because we at the AI Chicks are covering everything across the board about AI. But this is why we like to have these, you know, highlighted episodes about very amazing, unique sectors of the AI space, because then that allows people to deep dive into it more. And, you know, with Caitlin, CyberSecurity Girl, information and brand, that's definitely a lane if you want to learn more about this, to dive down that path.
Yeah. But right before we leave, Caitlin, at every episode, we do the nickname game here at the AI Chicks.
I know she technically already has a nickname.
I think we might have to just induct her as Cybersecurity Girl.
But should we throw a few out there to see if she wants like a
let's hear it. I'm actually looking for a podcast name, so we can do that.
Oh, okay. So we love to give nicknames to induct you into the AI Chicks AI Squad. Mm-hmm. And so obviously, like, I mean, this was so creative, guys. But Cyber Chick, because you're on the AI Chick, so I was like, okay, Cyber Chick.
Yeah, that's pretty low hanging fruit.
Low hanging fruit. I had to go there.
Of course, we were going to suggest that.
Yeah, we had to.
Another one that I thought could be fun. I always like to tap songs for inspiration. It's Miss Independent and all those type of songs. What about if we call her like Miss Protective?
Ooh,
yeah,
I love that song, Miss Independent.
Oh yeah. So we were trying to do a little spin on that. And then also another thing that I love to do is I love to like crown people, knight people. Everyone I feel we talk to is royalty in their own right. And so we also thought about the digital duchess.
Ooh, I like that.
So you have Cyber Chick, you have Miss Protective, you have Digital Duchess, and then you have, of course, the OG Cybersecurity Girl.
Yeah.
What do you think? What's resonating with you the most?
Obviously, it's my Cybersecurity Girl one because I've had it for 4 years, but I love the Miss Protective one just because I love the song too.
Okay. Welcome, Miss Protective, aka CyberSecurity Girl, aka Caitlin. Welcome to the AI Squad as Miss Protective. And thank you so much for joining us, Caitlin. This has been such an amazing conversation, learning about AI and cybersecurity and really giving insight to our listeners about how they can be more protected online.
Yeah, and we want to make sure, just how I mentioned before, if you want to dive more into the cybersecurity world, make sure to check out Caitlin's CyberSecurity Girl on all the platforms. And then you also obviously make sure to follow and check out the AI Chicks on all of the socials, as well as listen to more episodes and follow us on our podcast and cop that merch. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Take care. Bye.
Listen to the AI Chicks on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Video episodes are available on Patreon. And check out our socials at The AI Chicks.